Hey guys, thank you so much for tuning in for another video. So in this video I'm going to be covering the installation of a 220 gallon sump for the 1000 gallon Moray aquarium. So this is a sump that is extremely big, bigger than a lot of people's actual main aquarium. So that's going to be a big challenge. And then I'm also going to be installing a huge protein skimmer to help keep the water cleaner and reduce the amount of water changes I have to do, the frequency, because it costs me about $100 every time I do a water change. And right now I'm doing a weekly water change, so hopefully I can do it once a month and be fine with it. So yeah, let me walk you through this whole process and hope you learn something. Alright, so just like I said in the intro, I'm going to be making a change to the filtration system. It's not a huge change, it's more like shoveling a few things around and make things a little bit more accessible. But basically what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be installing this huge 220 gallon sump that I purchased for only $300 to this aquarium. And the reason for that is, number one, it was a really good deal. But secondly, the way my current filtration works is that I have the water flow into this 55 gallon aquarium where it's filtered mechanically through the filter socks. And then we have a carbon reactor here and then a very small protein skimmer. This is only rated for 270 gallons. And then the water flows into another 55 gallon tank that is full with biological media. So ceramic blocks, Seachem matrix, things like that. And then the third one as well. And then the water flows back into this bead filter. And here we have, beads where also nitrifying bacteria is growing on. And then it's then pumped back into the tank. So the problem is that these Seachem matrix, for example, you do need to rinse it every, at least maybe once a month, because this type of material can clog up, and then the bacteria is not going to be as effective anymore. And because I place them in the back, I'm not able to really reach it continuously. It's going to be a huge pain in the ass. When I researched this this type of media, some people said you can just leave it and never touch it, and even the fish store told me that. But you do see an upcreep in nitrates if you don't do that, as I noticed that in my freshwater tank. So yeah, I basically just placed this here temporarily. It was in the last tank, and as I'm prepping for this redesign. But yeah, so this huge sump will basically sit right here right in front of this tank. I want to do that to have as little piping going in and out as possible, because the more piping, the more you're restricting the water flow. And then this bead filter will basically then be just sitting next to it right here. And I'm also going to be installing a huge protein skimmer from Reef Octopus. It's a commercial skimmer that is rated up to 1500 gallons. And that will be helpful, when it comes to, these big animals that live in here. So we have a giant moray, a green moray, tessellata moray, viper moray, and a zebra moray. And then we also have a brown-banded bamboo shark and a white spotted cat shark. So yeah, these the eels, they will grow really large. So the giant moray currently is around 3.5 feet, and so is the tessellata and the viper as well. The green moray is only 2 feet and the zebra only 2 feet. But eventually these will get really large, and the sharks will also grow a little bit more. So they will be closer to 4 feet. These are both females. So this is 4 feet front to back. So I think they're going to be around here, like 40 inches, I think is their max size. So they're going to be pretty big, and they are a very high bioload animal. So I want to basically make sure that I have this set up. I'm going to be placing these buckets everywhere on the bottom, and maybe stack them 3 times. So I have a lot of biological media in there, so because every basket will be packed with Seachem matrix. And then yeah, so I'm planning to basically have the water flow in here, maybe install a filter sock or two, and then it will be filtered even more mechanically. So this is, the most porous material, and then it gets finer with the green one. And then again, all the biological media in here. And then we have another separation here with the egg crate, and then this is the same return pump. And then I'm also going to be installing a separate bioball filter, because it came with this whole setup basically for free. And let me show you that right now. Alright, so this is basically the container that came with the sump. So you have these two trays that are going to be sitting on top, and below that is going to be full with bioballs, or at least that's what came with them. And then yeah, it basically will trickle down, and then we'll just return back into the sump. And I think that's just going to add some additional biological filtration. So I started to do a little bit of piping already, but one thing I wanted to cover is basically what is the biggest challenge of simply putting this sump right here and the filter to the left, and then installing a skimmer, and then removing the old sump in the back of the tank. The biggest challenge by far is to keep the bacteria alive that lives in this bead filter, because as the water flows in, the beads get turned over, and then the water goes, it's cleaned biologically, and then it goes back into the tank. So if I was to turn this off and work on this project for like a day, all the bacteria in there would be dead, because they need oxygen. This is the aerobic bacteria, the one that converts ammonia to nitrite, and from nitrite to nitrate. So that bacteria needs oxygen, and it needs flow. So it cannot just be stagnant, otherwise it would just starve of oxygen and just die. So I talked to the manufacturer of this filter, Aqua Ultraviolet, and I basically have about an hour at most once I turn it off to then turn it back on and keep the bacteria alive. And obviously that's not enough time for me to do this whole project. So basically what I'm going to be doing, I'm going to be draining the water from the bottom, move it out of the way, and then just hook up a 40-gallon breeder next to it, fill it with water, fill this back up with water, and just let it run, somewhere else in the house while I'm working on this. And then when it's time to put it back in, I will have most of the plumbing done, so I just need to put it in place, connect the piping to the inlet and outlet, and that should be it. But yeah, it's very important that I keep this alive, because once I turn this off and start working on it, I have 5 big moray eels in here, I have 2 sharks in here, I have over 20 monofish, I have a lot of invertebrates that are sensitive to ammonia, nitrite, and nitrate. So I have to work very fast to get this done. So yeah, just a quick tip if you ever have to do something like this. So I have temporarily relocated the Aqua Ultimate 2 bead filter to my bathtub. Like I mentioned earlier, to keep the bacteria alive, keep things flowing inside. But I wanted to take this opportunity to demonstrate why this filter is so useful, even for saltwater aquariums. So right now you can see the top is relatively clean, and I'm going to be performing a backwash. And basically what's going to happen, the water will, the beads will be stirred, and then it will come out of this pipe. So usually this is a discharge, so this goes usually out into the gutter. And in this case, it's going to be going back into the tub, but it will demonstrate to you how much dirt is actually being accumulated inside, so pulled out from the aquarium and then kept inside. So in order to do that, I have to temporarily put it into feed mode or turn it off completely, and then move it from the filtration to the backwash setting. And when I turn it on now, you will see that a lot of dirt is going to come out. Works really well. Water should get brown rather quickly as the beads are getting stirred. We can already see brown stuff coming out, water getting darker. So yeah, usually you wouldn't pump this right back in, so that's clear, but just for demonstration purposes, to show you, how much gunk is actually being pulled out from the saltwater tank. Yeah, it works really well to keep the ammonia and nitrite low. So nitrate is not being removed that much because this is constantly moving and full with oxygen. And the bacteria, the denitrifying bacteria or anaerobic bacteria that removes the nitrates, needs an oxygen low environment, or basically no flow and no oxygen. So this is full with flow, full with oxygen. So this filter primarily removes my ammonia and my nitrite. So converts ammonia to nitrite, from nitrite to nitrate. And yeah, as you can see, it's pretty dark. And then the next thing you would do, you would pause it again and put it in the rinse position, and then it will rinse the media, and then do another backwash, another rinse, another backwash, another rinse, and then you're pretty much done. But this is basically just to demonstrate, you know, how this filter works. Works very well for saltwater, just as well as ponds, and even for moray eel tanks and shark tanks. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pause the filter, the pump, switch it back to the filtration, and then this will take like a couple minutes, but basically all the brown stuff you see in the tub right now is going to be filtered and kept inside this filter, which is really good and really demonstrate how well this filter works. So I'm going to give it a couple minutes and then pick up this camera, and then you will see that all the brown water is pretty much clear because all the dirt is back in the filter and kept inside the filter. Alright, filter has been running, and as you can see, the top is pretty clear again, except for this little mess there. But yeah, it works really well. And what's surprising is that these beads, they're even able to hold on to really fine dusty dirt, so not just bigger chunks, because as you saw earlier, it was really cloudy. There weren't like a lot of solid particles, but it's all basically back in the filter, and it's running super quiet as well. So yeah, I can only recommend it even for saltwater tanks. Alright, quick update on the sump. So the sump is now in place, and I did remove the 3 55-gallon aquariums that were daisy chained together, that were in the back of the tank and acted as a sump. And for tubing, so I decided to use this pond tubing because it's so much easier to route it exactly where I want it to be. Initially I had planned to use PVC pipe fittings only with all kinds of angles, and just would have been a huge nightmare to try to get this perfectly aligned. Sometimes I use these rubber couplings, so if you have one end and the other end not aligning perfectly down to the millimeter, you can use those rubber connectors to still connect both and get a good seal. But this is just a lot easier with the tubing here. And so yeah, basically I'm going to be installing a filter sock. So this will be the main drain, and this will be like a secondary drain. Filter sock probably on both, and then we have a bunch of sponges. So we have the very coarse ones, which are the white ones, and then we have the fine ones, which is the green ones, and then we have a bunch of bio rings, and then C-Chem matrix, and then back there we have the pond version of C-Chem matrix, which are the bigger pieces. And then the bead filter will go back here. But if I leave it like this, there's nothing different or drastically different than what I had before, other than everything is now in one place, so it's easier for me to do maintenance and clean it out, which is important because there was one issue I had with the other setup, that I just couldn't reach to the back and get to the media to rinse it, which you do have to do every now and then because this is very porous material, the C-Chem matrix, and if you don't clean it at all, it does get clogged up, which will then prohibit the bacteria from growing in there, and then it's basically useless. So it is important to clean this regularly. But then I also have this bio tower. So this is a 4-foot tower, 4 foot tall. I think it's 3 feet long and about 18 inches deep. So let's take a closer look there. It's basically a tower full with these bio balls. Okay, and the good thing as we go around is that it does come with a lid where you can basically screw it on top. So this would create a very moist environment. And bio balls are not usually used in saltwater aquariums. They say it's not as porous as C-Chem matrix, and it gets gunked up pretty easily. But the pump that I'm using is a variable speed pump, so I can, if I want to clean this, run the pump at full power and will wash it out basically. But yeah, I basically installed this because it came with the Sump. I only paid like $50 extra for this huge tower, and then all the bioballs. I think I have like 8 of these buckets of bioballs. So this is a lot of bacteria that will be growing on that as well. This bacteria will be similar to the bacteria in the bead filters. So the bacteria that converts ammonia to nitrate and nitrate to nitrate. And that is because when the water trickles through that tower, it's an oxygen-rich environment. So this is the aerobic bacteria that is going to live there. But the anaerobic bacteria that will remove the nitrates will be basically the cecum matrix, because these sponges, they basically reduce the flow to a minimum. So you need a very low flow, low oxygen environment for denitrifying bacteria to grow in. But one very important piece of equipment that I'm still waiting on is a new protein skimmer, which is going to be sitting here. So we'll remove that lid. And that skimmer is rated for, I think, 1,500 gallons. So, because I now have sharks in addition to eels in this tank that this is filtering, I do need to upgrade my skimmer badly. In order to kickstart the filtration of this new bioball tower, I will be using my favorite bacteria, which is Fritzdime Monster 460, meant for big fish like moray eels and sharks. And basically, I'm simply going to be dosing this into this last chamber, which houses the pump that basically feeds the biotower. So basically the water goes all the way up to the top and then trickles down and then goes back into the sump and then into the aquarium. So I will just put this in this area here, and it will then be fed into the biotower. So all the bioballs will be seeded with this really great bacteria. All right, so the skimmer has just been delivered. Here it is, Reef Octopus SRO 8000 external. So this skimmer should definitely help keep the water clean. I hope it comes already assembled. If not, that will take a while to assemble. But yeah, this is the last piece missing for the filtration rebuild, and then hopefully we're not going to have to do so many water changes anymore. So here we have the new skimmer next to the old one, and as you can see, the size difference is just huge. So just to tell you how much I paid for this one was $2,500 plus $210 freight shipping, because it came in a huge box. And yeah, so this skimmer here was only rated for up to 250 gallons, I believe, and this one is rated for between 1,200 and 1,500 gallons, which will be much more suitable for this 1,000 gallon aquarium that also has a 220 gallon sump now. So yeah, I'm going to be installing it and pick it up from then, and I may actually do a separate video of this skimmer, because when I was researching skimmers, it was just very hard to find any information about this skimmer other than a couple of YouTube shorts, and that's it. So I may even do like a full installation video, like how to put it together and stuff. But yeah, let me install the skimmer and then we will pick it up from there. Okay, filtration upgrade is now completed and the sump is installed. Everything works really well. Took care of any leaks that occurred initially. Skimmer is now installed and running well. It's still breaking in, but it's creating a lot of bubbles, cleaning up the water very nicely. Bead filter does what it always does. And down here you see all this media that I have. I'm going to be continuing to purchase more cecum matrix, the pond version as well as the smaller version. And I think I have enough bio rings, but yeah, the bioball tower works really well too. So I'm already seeing some improvements in the water quality, so I hope that I can, maybe do water changes only once a month if possible. But like I said, for 250 gallons of water, it costs me about $80, sometimes even $100, depending on the price of salt. So $400 or $360 to $400 a month, that's a lot just for salt. So hopefully if I can just cut this down to once a month. So the skimmer was pretty expensive, over $2,500. So, but it is an investment, you know, keeps the water clean, and hopefully I will save money in the long term on salt, so I don't have to do so many water changes and have more free time to do other things instead of, you know, water changes every weekend. But yeah, thank you so much for watching this video. Not sure what the next one will be, or probably about the skimmer itself. So it took a while, you know, to get this up and running, and how I installed it. I wanted to cover a few things. So if you're interested in this Reef Octopus EXT 8000 external skimmer, watch out for the next video. And until then, I hope you're doing well and you have a good weekend. Thank you.